It's hard to say. Now, Marie died at the age of 36 from a stroke that was caused by a blood clot going into the brain, and that can be a result of any number of things, and is completely unpredictable.
Yeah, so my mother died.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And there's 3 surviving?
3 surviving. Yeah.
And they're in Montreal?
In the Montreal area, yeah, the 3 of them.
And they avoid the limelight for the most part?
Well, they have for years. They're coming out of that a little bit now, and I think mainly at 60 they're facing their retirement years. And while there was a tremendous amount of money made for the Quints, the provincial government controlled that, and it's sort of like handing your checkbook over to your state government and saying, here, manage this for me. So you can appreciate that overall they didn't end up with a lot. So I think today they're sort of doing limited publicity because they've got their retirement.
Are they together?
They don't, as far as I know, they don't live together, but they live very close to each other.
And are they all single? Or?
Yeah, both both Annette and Cecile are divorced now, and Yvonne is married.
Amazing.
So they're not going to get any royalties off any of this?
Well,
Any of them?
no, see, the thing is, the museum legally cannot right, regardless, because it's the title. But the government only did, but, you know, look at, the welfare system, you know, the government takes tax dollars. I don't know how you can do that, how much the state's yeah, yeah. They did the same thing here, only the government started paying us.
Some go weird for the light fitting.
Yeah, here what happens is deducted off your paycheck, then that money is just used to support the local
There's a lot of pictures of them, huh? God, these are serious.
Yeah.
Serious and it's depressing. Oh my God.
Oh no, people are still getting it. Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar, but this is why when you say, well, the government can invest funds, yes, but it was the trust fund that paid for their care, for the buildings, for the lawyers, for the business managers, for the accountants, you name it. That came out of the trust fund, and the government don't ever see a time when the money will stop flowing. Oh, this money stopped.
There were how many other brothers and sisters?
There were 5 living children when the Quints were born, and then 2 more, a total of 13.
Total of what? 13?
But 13 kids in this area was not, on a farm, was not unusual. Between 10 to 15 was the average. Of course, in many cases, the infant mortality rate was quite high. You also have to consider, oops, I'm trying to
No,
keep...
no, no, you're fine.
Okay. You also have to consider, like, this area was not, in the rural areas, was not settled before about 1880 to 1890. So it was still very much pioneer country. You had to come in, clear land, you know. So it doesn't compare, say, with southern Ontario or some areas down in the States where the land had been settled, you know, and farms worked for generations.
Yeah. Is this all original?
It sure is.
Wow.
She's gonna type
You're
out.
kidding, we couldn't afford to rebuild it.
Look over the book. See the book?
Oh my gosh, all these books. Oh my.
Police radio.
Radio, yeah, that's just GPS, like, what's available. People tend to think of merchandising as some sort of new concept, and it's been around for as long as people have been painting on cave walls, I mean, just in different forms.
Yeah, I can't
Is
believe
there a
it.
complete collection of what was like that?
Actually, there's a couple of other things that aren't shown here, but that's almost incomplete. Of course, there's magazine articles, books in different editions, quite a few things. Some are worth reading, some
they get any benefit from the movie that's
Yes,
coming out?
yes, they consulted on the script for it. And as far as the museum goes, we pay for the use of their name, although the actual operation of the museum could go on regardless, we just wouldn't be able to call it Dionne Museum.
So you pay, the museum pays that?
For the use of their name in our promotions and advertising.
Is the museum, is it by the general public?
Oh, God, yes. Well, the only reason it's empty now is because we're closing for the season. I just haven't pulled everything out yet, so I'll be out of town next week. 12,000 people per season. And we're open from middle of May to middle of
People
October.
are out here?
Well, no, the heat that you feel here is fine until it gets cold outside. And then it's not climate controlled, so everything comes out, with the exception being the major furnishings, which basically are free to withstand humidity. It's not the temperature, it's the humidity in the spring when the thaw comes. Because it's, in January, it's very dry. It's cold and dry. February, March, we get high humidity.
And were the quintuplets born in Corbeil or Calendar?
In Corbeil, actually.
Okay.
The farm was located in Corbeil. The whole reason you hear about Calendar is because the press didn't know their geography and never bothered to get it straightened out. You had to drive coming in up from the south through Calendar along the road to reach the farm, which was in the next town. Dr. Defoe's practice was in Calendar. So if you read any of the original stories, they would say on a farm near Calendar, Ontario, and eventually they just dropped the word near because it was easier to lump the Quints and the doctor into Calendar. Also, Calendar was mainly English speaking, and the larger of the two communities, Corbeil was and still is a smoke spread.
Now they built a house for the parents, right?
No, the large house that was built, the big mansion, was built for the Quints when they were returned to the family. The government would not allow the Quints to be moved back into a simple farmhouse. The province actually expropriated part of the Dionne farm to build the nursery and Quintland complex, which, as far as I can tell through research, the parents were not compensated for, although I can't be 100% certain on that because not all of the records are available.
So where was the observatory?
Right there.
Right
How
about-
far was it from this house? Or to that house?
Okay, that house wasn't built yet.
Oh,
See,
okay.
this would be this house in its original location. The Quints lived across the road, and this is the observation ground. The big house was built
That was
if you
that house.
extended the map.
There.
This building it's got an upper floor. The porch that goes around is
The porch goes all the
gone.
way around, right across the street from the old folks home?
No,
Oh.
it's beside the old folks' home. There's no porch the porch is gone, and there's an upper floor on it. It's painted white.
We missed it.
Also, the staff house, you can see this little square. It's like almost spitting distance from the road now, and then the old folks' home. This building, you can see where the fencing ran near it, but it's an open field now. And the original site of this house, you'll see there's a rock outcropping. You can see the original foundation to this house, and there's still some old farm equipment sitting up on this rock outcropping, but it's basically a field now where the cattle graze. And then
That's why nobody really could see the observatory.
no, it's gone now. It was torn down in 1979, 78 or 79.
So we didn't have the forethought to think of keeping it?
Well, see, the thing, it had been there. It was used. The nursery was converted into a private school for the Quints when they moved into the big house because they couldn't go to public school. Eventually, a private high school. When the Quints left home at 18, the nursery and compound was rented by an order of nuns, and it was turned into basically a convent. And they set up a shrine in here where they prayed around the clock. Then, when it was eventually sold off, it became a private residence. Someone kept dogs and used it as a kennel for their dogs. And then it sat empty for years and fell apart. The thing is, all buildings on the site were sold by the family with the stipulation that the Dionne name can never be used to make a profit. This building exists as a museum because the family wanted some privacy. It was sold lock, stock, and barrel with the stipulation if you moved off the farm and never come back. Which you have to appreciate. If you spent your growing years surrounded by this kind of chaos, everyone felt it was within their right to ask you, you know, personal family questions. You can you can really appreciate why they would have a disdain for that. And you know, people often comment, "There's no plaque or anything out there."
Yeah.
Well, who's going to put a plaque up? Certainly not their neighbors who like them. Certainly not the communities that they live in, and you know.
They're kind of forced into the whole thing.
Oh, very much so, yeah. So, I mean, you always get people who are related and that coming through the museum. They know where it is, and it's a workable situation this way. Nobody minds people driving by and stopping and snapping pictures of the site. They just don't, you know, at the nursing home, they have a problem if people, you know, want to come in because it disturbs the residents. And likewise, anyone who owns one of the other buildings.
Does it have a plaque at the nursing home?
Yeah. Yeah, but again, the nursing home was built with was sold again with that same stipulation that there could not be any profit made from the family name.
How many acres was
The farm was,
originally?
I believe, about 200 acres, 90 of which were cleared.
Good
So
size.
it was a reasonable size. Now, in that area, it's not particularly good land. You can see where their good fields were, where it had been cleared of rocks, where they just grazed animals was rougher terrain. A lot of scrub brush and that, but you know, that's the nature of it.
What kind of farming?
Mixed. They raised cattle, horses. You know, you planted your cash crops and your own vegetable gardens and that. A small farm like that, you didn't get too specialized in.
Neat. I'm just enjoying all this.
Steel stairs?
No. Structurally, it can't support the type of foot traffic. And secondly, if you take a look at those stairs, you'll appreciate why our insurance company wouldn't allow it.
And who's that gentleman? Is that their father up there?
That's the problem.
Sure looks different from the pictures I saw. A little, not much.
They didn't look like a poor dumb farm. They look like a pretty distinguished guy.
Yeah. Actually, if you were to compare them within their community, Mr. Dionne was a very well-liked, well-respected man. He had one of the only 2 cars in Corbeil. He had the only baling machine. He was recognized for, he raised horses. The work horses he raised were, you know, if you bought a horse from Mr. Dionne, you knew you were getting a good animal sort of thing. Which contrasts with sort of like the Hollywood version where they made him appear a bumbling idiot and ignorant.
From where did he come?
He was born in this
In
house.
this area? Oh, really?
Born in this house. His parents built it. They came in from the Ottawa Valley area. So as you were driving from Ottawa, basically what happened following the Ottawa and Mattawa rivers, the lumber companies moved in and cleared the forest. The people who worked in the lumber companies were young farmers and farmers' sons who worked in the lumber camps over the winter and went back to the farm in the summer. The young men who were, you know, looking to start out on their own would end up getting married and homesteading a newly cleared area. Oh, I know where there's a nice piece of land that's cleared, and that's how it was settled in. Whereas North Bay itself was when the railroad came through. So you have 2 distinct mixes of people, which is why you get the English French.
He was French? Were his parents from France?
Well, yeah, going back
Yeah.
500 years or whatever it was. Again, the Ottawa Valley was settled a lot from people who originally settled
they're cute coats. They're so cute.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Do you know much about the relationship between them and their brothers?
It was, it's sort of a difficult thing. It was a difficult relationship, but in a sense not as bad as the media made it sound. The problem was there was no relationship there. The twins were almost 5 years old before they were allowed to meet their siblings face to face the first time. So that whole normal family bonding process was not there. Also, when the twins were moved back into the house with the other kids, they were at a distinct disadvantage because of the way they were raised in isolation. They had no skills to help them integrate with the family. They had no knowledge of the outside world. What was considered normal to the rest of the family was completely, unimagined by the twins. And the way the twins were raised made no sense to the rest of them. Also, when you consider the oldest child was 7 when the twins were born, here's a kid who's had a good childhood, depression's on, therefore he doesn't know it. None of his friends have anything more, and the neighbors. All of a sudden, this world's turned upside down when these 5 come along. The girls are taken away, and the parents are upset. And through the eyes of a 5-year-old, wouldn't it seem like, well, aren't we good enough? We have to have them too. So, just the normal jealousies that are there between siblings would have been so pulled out of proportion by the circumstances that, had there been contact, probably that would have sorted itself out, but it was too little too late by the time it was home.
Where the kids were taken while they were in.
Yes, they were, the government assumed custody of the girls when they were 16 years old. And they were physically removed from this house at the end of August of 1934.
And then they get them back until
They were not. The parents regained custody while the twins were still 8 years old, but they were 9 before the family lived together because the government insisted on building the ranch.
How long was the legal from?
From the time they were weeks old until they didn't, took parents up with that.
How long did it take?
For 9 years, from 9 to the age of 18.
They moved out there.
But you can appreciate there even the difficulty. That's pretty late to try and integrate them into the family. One example I like to use, when the parents regained custody and the twins went home, again, they had virtually nothing in social skills because they had been kept in almost complete isolation. They tended to do everything as a group. You didn't venture to do anything on your own, all 5 of them, so the parents thought, well, to help them integrate in that, they would put the twins in rooms with their other sisters and disperse them around the dinner table. This seems logical enough. In the nursery, when the girls were punished, they were punished by being segregated. If one misbehaved, she was removed from her sisters. So instead of being seen as a good thing, they perceived it as punishment. Also, look at, they're in the nursery. The closest thing to chores they did was pick up their toys, hang up their clothes, and put their supper dishes on the counter. Mrs. Dionne, who's a farm wife, sees these girls. They have no skills whatsoever. Well, isn't it about darn time they learn? So suddenly they're doing the floors, they're cooking meals. They must have, Cinderella here, they must have felt just like that. And of course, they probably had more chores to do because their sisters already knew how to do this stuff. She figured she was helping them out by teaching them what 9-year-old kid likes to do housework. And it's not that in later life they couldn't understand that. It's just anytime they said, well, they also in their book said we felt we were abandoned, that we were unwanted by our parents. Because as a child, they had no way of knowing the circumstances that happened realize that it wasn't their parents doing. And as a child, you don't understand that because your parents are, all-powerful sort of thing. It, again, doesn't mean that later in life you don't understand that. Whenever they were quoted saying, well, we felt that we've been abandoned, people take it as adults, they still thought their parents abandoned them. Or we felt our parents were overprotected, which they probably were. To fight 9 years to get your kids back, you're not going to cut the apron strings too easily. So they were probably very overprotective. And again, at certain ages you resent that, and then as you get older and have your own kids and go, oh my God, I don't want you to walk out of this house without me. You've got to take it in context.
Amazing.
The province of Ontario took them, but it was due in a great deal to public pressure. That came about because of the media. When Mr. Dionne, who, as I said, was relatively well off compared to anyone else, I mean, they still didn't have the money. The doctor's bill had to be paid. His wife was bedridden. They needed a nursery addition on the house because the house wasn't big enough to accommodate the girls and all the equipment they needed. The Red Cross was supplying it. The government didn't come in with any assistance initially other than relief. He signed contracts to try and raise some money using the plants. The newspapers reported it that the father was trying to sell the children. Not saying, oh, look at this poor man, he's in such dire need, he's been forced into this. No, they made him sound, like this evil, greedy person. So people, you only know what you're reading in the newspapers, and I think people were more naive at that time. Just said, oh, someone should do something. So the government said, okay, we'll do something, and that's the way things were done. You even watch one episode of Unsolved Mysteries, and there's always these family things. How many of them were families split up during the 30s? The government would come in, you can't look after your kids, they'd ship them out to work on a farm because at that time they figured it was better that the kid have a full belly than, be left with the family in uncertain circumstances. So in a way it's not unique, but the circumstances that caused it definitely were. Product of the times.
There was nobody in particular. The one person was.
No, it was a set of circumstances, and to say the government was in control of it is a little bit ridiculous too, because the government just did their best to manage it to their best interest. They couldn't have stopped the public interest if they had wanted to. It was something that just caught people's imaginations and snowballed.
Was it more French people that came over?
Oh God, no, mostly people coming up from the States.
Really?
Oh yeah, by the millions. They figure that over 3 million people came up to this area specifically to see the plants.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Not so much the Canadians, but much the
Oh no,
Americans.
Canadians don't get that excited about anything except for hockey and moose season. Or if there's a beer strike, but.
Important things in life.
Exactly. My father-in-law is a salesman, and his company sends him down to the States to do seminars, and he said, you can pick out the Canadians. He said, they've got this guy up there preaching, his salesmanship or whatever, and he said, they're all hooting and hollering, and there's all the Canadians sitting back going, what is this, and when does the bar open?
This is so neat. I really video house the quintuplets. The side of the house with the quintuplets. Yeah. Quintuplets were born here. There's the baby buggy, all 5.
there's pictures of that. Mom, get this picture of them now.
Where? Oh, you're kidding. This is the remaining 3.
This is where you get the video.
It's not very good. What, can we order the video? My sister Yvonne's gonna like this one, the children's stove. Isn't that amazing? We're on our way to Toronto after we have our lunch. It's a nice cute place. It's far.
Oh. Eastside Marriott?
Yeah, Eastside Mario. Real cute. I like it. Yeah, real cute. Real nice decor. Tired now? That's a nice light picture. Ooh, let me take a picture of this. Oof, I can't even see it really. Me too? Hi. I took pictures of the house. Old Victorian house.